Kadosh Boker Or, Daf Yomi Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Kuf Bet Amud Aleph 112a1 says the Gemara Ibai Lehu. Yeah, so they asked in the Bet Midrash, Hudchu. What does that mean? Right? When you have the city, they come and they became Inche Irani Dachat. They went after their Yetzirah. And what happened was Me'alehen on their own. Ma'u Watzalacha. Vayadichu amar Rachmana velo keshudchu me'alehen. Does it mean Vayadichu at Yoshvei Ira means that they have to be convinced to do it and not that they were done on their own? Or Dilma, or maybe afilu udchu me'alehen, even if it was done on their own. Thank you, doctor. Right? So what happens? Right? So we don't have an answer. Tashema, another question. Right? Another, we're going to try to bring a proof. It says that if it was going to be women or children, that they were the ones that were convincing them. Amai, says the Gemara, why is it that they're not going to be like in Shein and Nidachat? It should be as if it was done on their own. So answers the Gemara, Hanach over there, Batanav Shayu Gride. He says there, they were going after themselves. They were having Nimshach after themselves. Hani here, Batar Nashim Ktanim Gride. Right? They were done after women and children. But they themselves are not kashur. Fine. Hechi Avdinan. Says the Gemara, right? How do we do this? Which means, how do we see, right, when the majority of the city are going to become Ira Nidachat? Amar of Yudah says of Yudah, Danin v'chovshin. We're going to judge them avodah zara l'skila, and then we're going to prohibit them. We're going to put them into the jail, and we continue doing that. Now, what happens if we have the majority of the people of the city? Then we come and we don't do sekila, we do a hereg, right? We do saif. Right? That means we keep on coming, and then afterwards, what we do is that we're going to send them right to jail, and only after the majority of the time that we're going to see what's going on in jail. That's what's going to happen. Okay? Amar le'ula. Ula comes and he says, "Nimsa shata me'aneh et dinan shel elu." Yeah, but you're doing inui adin. You know what inui adin is? Inui adin is that you're not allowed to leave somebody over to wait because that causes many times. Thank you, doctor. Right? He comes and he says because many times that comes and it causes people to suffer. Because imagine right now you're coming and you're waiting, right? It causes people to suffer. What? They have to wait and wait to get their punishment. Already they have to kill them. Kaddish, do it right now. Yeah, you're going to have to wait. They're in suspense. They don't know what's going on. That's the way it is. So he answers, right? Ella, but rather Ula says, Danim v'soklin. You're right. We judge them and we do sekila. Judge them, do sekila. Now, if it becomes the majority of the city, so therefore, instead of coming and doing the sekila, then what we're going to do is we're going to do hereg for the rest of the people. Okay, until here we're clear? 112a1. Itmar, it was stated. Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, Danim v'soklin. We're going to judge, we're going to do sekila, judge and do sekila. Shakish says, Marbin lahem bate dinim. We're going to put a whole bunch of bate dinim, right? Which means that we're going to come and set up a whole bunch of bate dinim in order to try to do all the judgments in one shot. Meaning that you know how it is, that all of a sudden, right before the tax season or whatever it is, you're going to get like much more workers. The same thing. We're going to set up a whole bunch of bate dinim, so therefore it's going to be much earlier, right, in order to do it. Okay? So he says, "Any is it all?" Amar Rabbi Yossi, Amar Rabbi Oshaya. Says Rabbi Yossi in the name of Oshaya. Ve'otzeta et ha'isha hu et ha'isha hi. Ish ve'isha tamotzi lisharecha. You're going to take out a man or a woman to the bedin in every single city. But you can't take out the entire city, which means, right? Oh, it's only going to be for Sadanin and Gedulah. So it comes out that you cannot just come. So it means the only ones that could do Yirei Nidachat is Bedin Gadol Yerushalayim. So how are you going to come and now do so many Batei Dinim? You can't have so many Batei Dinim. You need Bedin Gadol. Yeah. So he says, Ela, but rather, Marbim lahu Batei Dinim u'ma'aynim bedinehen. We're going to come and we're going to start, right, setting up a whole bunch of Batei Dinim and being me'ayen in the din. Umaskina lehu lebedina gadol. Then we take them out to bedina gadol. The gamri lehu dinayo. Then we do gmar din. They cut lehu and then they kill them. Meaning, right, the bedina gadol in Yerushalayim is like the Supreme Court. So the first, what they start doing is they start coming and they start doing the small. Huh? No way. They come and they do the small, like the small batei dinim, right? They start doing that, and then what happens is, right? is that they're going to do the rest of it. Aket aket Yoshua. Yeah, Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita, Hachameret v'gamelet, ha'overet mimakom mimakom v'lanu betocha. When you're going to have a sheira of chamarim and gamalim that is going one place to another, v'lanu betocha, and then they come and they're living in it, v'udchu ima, right? And then they have the inshein and idachat, which is going to be nidchu with it. Im nishau sham shloshim yom, if they're going to stay there for 30 days, hem b'sayv amunim aved, right? They're going to be in saif, and then their money is going to be lost. Pachom mikan, if it's going to be less than that, hem b'skilam mamonam palet. So they're going to go to Sekila and their money is going to be, right? What is palet? It's going to be saved. So he says, here we have a contradiction. How long do you have to be in a city to be considered Anshe Ayid? 12 months. Meaning once you're 12 months in a city, you are Anshe Ayid. And therefore you have to start paying, right? Like Anshe Ayid. You have to start paying the taxes like a person that's there, right? So for example, you're going to move right now to a certain place. You have 12 months. Once you're there 12 months, you become a toshav. Once you're a toshav, that's it. Now you start paying the taxes, right, of that city. So Rava says, Lakashia, there's a difference between Bnei Ayid or Yoshvei Ayid. Here to do with the Ina Nidachat, when it says Aket Aket Yoshvei Ayid, right, so therefore it's already going to be 30 days you're on Shei Ayid, right? So therefore, even though you're not Bnei Ayid. Meaning, since it says Yoshvei Ayid, so Yoshvei Ayid is 30 days, the Kvar speak, Sasufi. Right? You don't need, right, 12 months. 30 days is already going to be enough to be considered that you're Yoshvei Ayid in order to be counted as part of the city or not. That Tanya, we learned in a Braita, Hamudarana mi bnei Ayid, if you're going to be Mudarana from the Ayid, im yesh adam shenishta sham 12 chodesh asur, if you're going to be there for 12 months, it's going to be asur le'enot mimenu, you're not allowed to benefit from him. Pachom mikan, if it's going to be less than that, you're allowed to benefit from him. Yoshvei Ayid, to do with Yoshvei Ayid, so you see from here, right, that less than 30 days is not considered Yoshvei Ayid. So Mefurash in the Braita, the 30 days is already Yoshvei Ayid, right? Now Bnei Ayid is going to be 12 chodesh, meaning there's going to be a difference between, I forgot how you call it. There's a resident, there's a non-alien resident. There's like in America, there's different terminologies. You understand? There's non-alien resident, permanent resident. There's
too many names.
Yeah, you understand? Meaning there's different names, right? Of what it is exactly. You understand? So here it's 30 days, right? 30 days, right? To have it. 30 days, and then you have 1 year. Okay. So the 1 year, you're already a permanent resident. Yeah, 30 days, you're I don't know how you want to call it, a temporary resident. Okay. Hacharemotah ve'et kol asher ba. Tanu Rabbanan milim to Braita. Hacharemotah ve'et kol asher ba. We're talking about that it's excluding the tzaddikim, which is going to be on the outside. It's coming to include the nichse tzaddikim, which is in it. We're talking about that it's coming to exclude the reshaim, which is going to be on the outside. Why do we say that the nichse tzaddikim are going to be destroyed? Think about it. The guy's a tzaddik. Why does all his property get destroyed as well? So nigaram sheyaduru betocha mamonam, meaning why are they living there? Obviously because of their money. Lefichach mamonam aved. So that's why. Meaning that tzaddik should not be living in a city where the majority of the people are doing avodah zarah. We're talking about Jews. We're not talking about he's in a, you understand? Meaning that he's in a city where the majority of the Jewish nation in that city are doing avodah zarah. Why is he there? Obviously because of his money. If he's there because of his money, destroy his money. You heard. How long does it take to tell the time? Yeah? Understood? Fine. Amar more. Huh? Well, there's no written in the Gemara. Amar more says, Vekol shelalatik bots. What does that mean? Lerabot nikser reshaim. Shebechutz salah. It's coming to include the reshaim. Amar Rav Chasta, says Rav Chasta, we're talking about that it's coming inside of it. So Amar Rav Chasta, says Rav Chasta, pigdonot shel anshe ha'ir hanidacha mutarin. The pigdonot of anshe ha'ir hanidacha, they're going to be permitted. Right? Bana. They're going to be permitted bana. So says the Gemara, hechi dami. Right? How are these words? Ilema, if you're going to tell me now, di iracheret vit nehu begava, that we're talking about another city, right? And it's talking about that it's in ha'ir hanidachat, pshita de mutarim. So therefore, obviously, it's going to be that it's going to be mutar. Why love shalalahu? It's not shlala, meaning it's not considered part of its booty. If they're not even living there, so therefore it's not part of the booty. but it belongs to them. But it's in another city. So 1 second. So he says, if it's going to be right now, so my mutarim was going to be permitted. And if it's not going to be inside of the city, so you already said it already, right? That the Niksera Shaim are outside of the city are still going to be Nisrafim. So what are you going to be then? So he says, you understand what I mean like this? For example, sometimes you have money in a Swiss bank, but this guy's at a shop. So therefore, he's in a idachat. So you have to get rid of everything. But he's got money outside. What happens to the money outside? That's the question. So we already said that if it's inside the city, obviously it gets destroyed. But what about outside the city? So we already said it once. Very good. So here obviously it's declared. So it says lo leolam de ira acheret de right de mefak de betocha. We're talking about a different city, right, which is inside. So he says v'achma going to kabila le achrayut. So he already accepted achrayut on this. Mao the time I would have thought say given the kabila le achrayut kedidedam it's considered his, and therefore it should be burnt with everything in the city. Kamashmalan comes to teach you Rav Chasta that it's not. That the pikadon is not shayach to the city, but rather to somebody in the city, which is not part of the city, and therefore it's mutar. You don't have to destroy this property. Okay? Amar Rav Chasta says Rav Chasta, what happens if you have an animal? Half of the animal belongs to the people of the city, and half of the animal belongs to somebody else, or an isa. Okay, behema, חציה שלי לנידחת, וחציה שלי לאחרת. Yeah? He says, asura. It's going to be asur. Isa, שחציה שלי לנידחת, וחציה היא לאחרת, מותרת. My time, what's the reasoning? Behema keman de la pliga damya. Right? The behema is kiru that it's not divided. And the isa is keman de pliga damya. The isa is considered that it's two halakim. Meaning the behema, I cannot do anything. I cannot split the animal in half. So because of that, it's considered ki'ilu that behema is all 100%. Here, though, when we're talking about an isa is dough. So that is considered that I already split it into two. Okay, until here we're clear? By Rav Chasta. So ask Rav Chasta, behemat iranidachat. When we're talking about behemat iranidachat, maudi t'nai be'shechita l'ta'ara midenevila. What is it going to help it now that it's going to do a shechita to purify it from the nevila? So he says, lefi charev amarachmana. He says it's lefi charev. Lo shna shachta mishchat, lo shna ktala miktal. Says there's no difference whether you shechted the animals, right? You did shechita. It's always considered lefi charev. So therefore, it doesn't help anything. Well, Dilmar, maybe given the shachta, manual shechita. Once you did shechita, so now it helps the shechita to purify it from the nevila. So what's the halacha? We don't have an answer. So we don't have an answer in such a case. Okay. By Rav Yosef, ask Rav Yosef, Se'ar nashim tzadkaniyot. What about the hair of the nashim tzadkaniyot of the ida nidachat? What's halacha? Do we say that you need to burn her hair or not? Imagine they want to use her hair. They use her hair as a wig for somebody else or not? Or do you have to burn it? Yeah. So Amar Rava says, had the rishiyot asur, what? And if it's going to be of a rishayit, yeah, a rishayit, yeah, it's going to be asur. He says tikvots v'sarav taktiv. It says that you have to burn it. So he says b'misheno mechusal kvitza srefa. That's only if it's going to be lacking kvitza usrefa. Yatsa zesh mechusal klishal kvitza. Here you have to cut it off also. So which means that we learn from here that even the sa'aran of the rishayot are not going to be burnt, right? Because you have to actually come and you have to cut it off. Right? So he says, Elamar Rava, but Rava says, no, we're talking about pe'ah nochrit. You don't have to cut off the hair. It's already cut off. It's a pe'ah nochrit. A wig. Yeah? Yesh la pe'ah. Yeah, so he says, since it has a pe'ah, so the question was, what about the pe'ah of the nashim tzadkaniyot? So says the Gemara, 1 second. What's the case? Hechidami. If they came and they attached the pe'ah nochrit to her hair, to her head, to her body, so then it's a body. Says the Gemara, it's hanging like nowadays. They've got like a hook. They've got something to hang it on their hair. So the question is, do we say that it's like the properties of the tzaddikim and therefore it has to be destroyed? Or Dilmar, maybe given the Eilav and Nafka, since she puts it on and off, it's like a levush, which means, so it could be that we have to do it like a levush. Now, if it's going to be a levush, right? So he says she's always thinking about it, and therefore the question is, do we say? So he comes and he says this. He says, fine. So he says it's only because that since she always needs the pe'ah, that's why it's always on her. So Teku, we don't have an answer. Meaning somebody's going to ask you, what do we do with the pe'anochrit of anashim tzadkaniot? Anachnu lo yudin. It's a little bit worse than a levush, because the levush, you don't always wear it. So if she's wearing the levush during the time of the Gemar Din, so yeah, they're going to burn it. But if not, maybe they don't burn it. Yeah, but we don't know about the peah. The peah, we don't know. Okay, until you were clear? Okay. Next. ואת כל שללה תקבוץ אל תוך רחובה. תנו רבנן, we learned in the Braita, אין לו רחוב, אינו נעשה נידחת. We said that the city does not have a city center, we do not make an עיר נידחת. These are the words of Rishman. Rabbi Kiva says, what are you talking about? אין לה רחוב, עושים לה. If it doesn't have a city center, make it a city center. Yeah? במאי קמי פלגה. So, what is the מחלוקת then? He comes and he says, yeah? איזה תמונה אתה שולח עכשיו? He comes and he says this, what is the machloket between them? Yeah, more savar rechova mi'ikar mashma, more savar rechova ashtana mashma. The question is, when it says rechova, what does that mean exactly? Yeah, he says like this. He says, right, when it says rechova, does that mean for the beginning that it had to have a rechova shalid? Or does it mean, no, that also now you could also make a rechova shalid? Meaning, does it have to be retroactively or not? That it had to have a rechova shalid? Or it could have now a rechova shalid? Okay? Fine. Kuf Yud Bet Amubet, 112b. Kuf Yud Bet Amubet, 112b says the two dots. Right? We said if it has a Ekdesh, you have to redeem the Ekdesh inside of Inyan Nidachat. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Yuba Kodashim, Kodshei Mizbeach, Yamutu. So anything which was going to be Kodashim, so if it's going to be Kodshei Mizbeach, which are basically animals which have to go to the Korban, Yamutu, they have to die. If it's going to be fixed, like, like different utensils that go to the Bedek to the Bet HaMikdash, Yipadu, you redeem them. Utrumot, if it's going to be Truma, Yirkevu, it has to become rotten. Masechet Kodesh Ganzu, you put them in Geniza. Shimon says, Be'emta. What is Be'emta? Velo Be'emat Bechol Maaser. It's only their animals, not the animals of Bechol Maaser. So he says, Shelala, Pal Kesef Kdesh, Kesef Maaser, Shani. This comes to exclude Kesef Ekdesh and Kesef Maser Shani. You don't destroy it. So Amar more says, Hayuba Kodashim, Kodshei Mizbeach Yamutu. If we're talking about Kodashim and Kodshei Mizbeach that they're going to die, V'amay Yamutu, why do they die? Yiruat Sheyistavu. Just let them graze until they get a mum. And once they have a mum, sell them, Yimachru, and then give the money for an edva. So Rabbi Yochanan says, Zevach Reshaim Toeva. The sacrifice of a Rasha is an abomination. Abomination. Yeah. The Shaki says, Mamon Balimhu. It belongs to the people. Here we're talking about kochin that you're obligated to pay for them. Right? The Bishimon here, and it's a Bishimon that he says, Mamon Balimu. Belongs to the Balim. So says the Gemara, the Seifa, the Bishimon, the Isha love Rabbi Shimon. He says, if the Seifa is going to be Rabbi Shimon, the Isha is not going to be Rabbi Shimon, what's going on? So he says, Bekadashim Kalim Valiba de Rabbi Galileh. Really, we're talking about Kadashim Kalim, and according to Rabbi Galileh. Ta'amar Kadashim Kalim, right? Mamon Balim him. According to him, Kadashim Kalim, it belongs to the owners. Meaning like this: there's Kadashim and Kadashim Kalim. Remember, you say it in the mornings, right? In the Korbanot. Well, right? Shlamim is Kadashim Kalim. Right? Pesach, Bechor, Maaser, Kadashim Kalim, Kadashim Kalim. So Kadashim Kalim, according to Shtat Rabbi Yosef, is considered what? Is considered Mamon Balim. Mamon Balim means the money of the owners. Okay, it's a machloket, but this is the Shita of Rabbi Yosef. לא הבנתי.
זה לא מאוס.
No, אבל בגלל שזה נחשב ממון בעלים, that's why you could burn it, you could get rid of it. But it's mamon balim, it doesn't belong to Hashem. If it belonged to Hashem, how could you start burning it and doing all these things? But it's mamon balim, just get rid of it. So it says, you have to redeem it. So the Tani said, so one second, if you just told me so then you have to explain to me. You redeem it, which means that you're going to let it graze until it gets a mum, and once it gets a mum, then you redeem it, right? So he comes and he says, since there exists a chatat, that the baalim die, so he comes and he says, that it goes to death. So he says, it's not going to be for sure, which means the Tana cannot come and start giving you a psak, right? Because at the end of the day, there's going to be also a chatat shemetu be'aleh. You know what a chatat shemetu be'aleh is? Chatat is a sin offering. What happens right now if somebody had to bring a chatat and they die? What happens? You don't bring it. The mitah is a chabra. So the chatat shemeta be'alea, you have to come and it goes anyway to the mitah. You don't redeem it, right? Why don't you redeem it? Because what are you going to redeem? You can't redeem it anymore. That's it. Chatat shemetu be'alea. That's it. Kaddish. So that's what he says here. So bishlema, right? Bishlema Rabbi Yochanan lo amar keresh lakish. I understand according to Rabbi Yochanan that he doesn't say like keresh lakish, because it says zevach reshaim toeva. The zevach reshaim is going to be a toeva, but according to the shakish, my time Rabbi Yochanan, why didn't he say like Rabbi Yochanan? Amalechai is going to tell you ki amnina. And when do we say zevach reshaim toeva? Hanamile chaditniu benayim. Only when it's going to be right there. But if it's going to be that you could redeem it, once it changes to another animal, ishtane, it changes. Meaning, zevach reshaim means that if you're going to take the exact same korban and bring it as a korban, that's called zevach reshaim. But if you redeem it and then you buy another animal, it's like panim chadashot. It's like a new entity that came. So it's not anymore the same thing as a zevach reshaim anymore. But it's another animal. It's another thing. Okay, fine. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Shimon says, "Be'emta velo be'emat bechor u'maaser." What is the case exactly? Ilem, if you're going to tell me now between me, we're talking about a tamim. So shlal shamaymu. So that's shlal shamayim. But rather, ela b'male mumin. Shlananinu. So that's shlala. So Ravina says, leolam, really, we're talking about bale mumin. We're talking about balmum. Right? V'mi shenechal betorat be'emta. It's coming that, a person is talking about it's going to be eaten b'tor be'emta. Yatzi'u elu. It's coming to exclude the she'en nechli b'torah be'emta, ela b'torah b'chor u'maaser. The Shlal Shamayim because it belongs to Shlal Shamayim. Pliga Shmuel, this argues on Shmuel. The Amar Shmuel says, Hakol karev, hakol nifta. Everything is going to be brought close and everything is going to be redeemed. My Kamar, what does that mean? Hachi Kamar. Kol shekarev keshu tam nifta keshu balmum. Any korban that you bring it when it's tam. Tam means that it's without blemishes. And you have to redeem it when it's a balmum. So mishelala im eat. So it's coming to be excluded. The vechol, the what? That now it's considered Shlal Shamayim. Because you have to pidyon. You have to do pidyon. But if it's going to be brought when it's a tam, but it's not going to be redeemed when it's a balmum, for example, maaser and bechor, right? They're going to be eaten with the mum to their owners, even without pidyon. Meaning, if you have a bechor and it's got a mum, the owners can eat it even without pidyon. So therefore, it's not considered shlal shamayim. Meaning, you don't even have to redeem it. Pidyon is like pidyon shuim, pidyon bechor, pidyon, right? Is to redeem. You don't even have to redeem it. So therefore, it's not considered bichlal shamayim. So that they learn it from behemta. Okay, fine. Trumot. We said trumot yirkevu. Right? They're going to go rotten. Amar Chasar says we're talking about truma biyad Yisrael. We're talking about truma in the hand of Yisrael. Aval truma biyad Kohen. Given the mono, since it's their money, it's going to be burnt. So Mati Rav Yosef comes and he asks the following question: Maaser sheni v'kitvei hakodesh yiganzu. When we're talking about Maaser sheni and kitvei hakodesh, you have to put it in geniza. Maaser sheni biyad Yisrael. He says Maaser sheni in the Israel is like truma in the hand of a kohen. So he says ktani ganzu. We said that it should be geniza. So he says elait malachima. This is what it means to say. Amar Rav Chasta says Rav Chasta lo shana. We're talking about ela truma. We're talking about truma biyad kohen. But truma biyad Yisrael tinaten lekohen shebiyad acheret. If you have truma, give it to another city. Give it to another guy. One more time. You are in the Idani Dachat. So the kohen there is also going to go up in flames. You understand? So if he's also going to go up in flames, right? So don't give it to the kohen that's in the city. Give it to a kohen in another city. What's the big deal? Give it to a kohen that wasn't part of the Idani Dachat. 100%. No. Anyway, he can't eat it. Everything's going up in flames. The kohen's going to be killed also. Everyone. Just because yes. So you're giving it to another kohen in another city. You can't give it to the Jew or Israel. For sure not. You have to give it to a kohen. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Tanan hatam. We learned over there in the Mishnah. Isa shel maaser sheni p'tura min ha'chala. When we have Isa of maaser sheni, it's going to be patur from the chala. These are mean. Chachamim mechayvim. Chachamim say that you're going to be chayav. Samar of Chasta says of Chasta, the machloket is going to be Masechet Sheni B'Yerushalayim. The Rebbe means the Mead holds Masechet Sheni Mamon Gavohu. The Masechet Sheni is going to be Mamon Gavoh. But Rabbanan Savre and the Rabbanan hold Mamon Hedyotu. It's going to be money of Hedyot. He says of a big Gvulin, but if we're talking about Masechet Sheni, which is talking about in the Gvulin, the Divrei HaKol, it's going to be according to everybody, it's going to be Patur. Why? Because outside of Yerushalayim, it's considered Masechet Sheni, which is going to be Mamon Gavoh. Okay. So Mativ Rav Yosef. So Rav Yosef asks, Maaser Sheni v'kitvei HaKodesh ganzu. Maaser Sheni kitvei HaKodesh, he put it in Geniza. B'may Eskina, what are we dealing with? Ilema b'Yerushalayim. If you're talking about now Yerushalayim, you have Ya'ira Nidachat. Do you have Ya'ira Nidachat? But Tanya, we learned in the right, Asrat Dvarim Nemru b'Yerushalayim. There are 10 things which were said in Yerushalayim. Zo achat men, there's one of them. Ena na'asit Ya'ira Nidachat. It's not going to be Ya'ira Nidachat. Ve'ela b'Yira Acheret. We're talking about Ya'ira Acheret. Pasku ala gavas, so we're talking about it. V'ha kaltu mechitzot. If you have mechitzot, right? What does that mean? We know that you have the mechitzot of Yerushalayim. It's considered that it's inside of the walls of the city. So he comes and he says, so the same thing with Maaser Sheni. Everything that goes outside, so now it's a prohibited. So he says, Elalav bigvulim. We're talking about outside of Yerushalayim. Now we learned Yiganzu, right? That it goes in Genizah. So it comes out that our Mishnah is holding the Maaser Sheni is considered Mamon Balim. So he says, no. Leolam really be'emet, we're talking about another city. Dira Cheret. Pasku ala gava. Now we put it inside of it. Becomes tameh. So says the Gemara, why don't you just redeem it? Right? If you're going to redeem the Maaser Sheni with money, there's no problem. Tamar Bilazar says Bilazar, why does he have Maaser Sheni becomes tameh? Remember, Maaser Sheni is in years 1, 2, 4, 5. Yeah, 7 is Shemitah. Shemitah is 7. Right? 1, 2, 4, 5. So you're right. So 1, 2, 4, 5 is Maaser Sheni. Yeah. So he says if it's going to be 1, 2, 4, 5, right? So therefore, just redeem it. You have Maaser Sheni. It becomes Tameh. Redeem it, even in Yerushalayim. So he says, "Hamulomar ki lo tuchal tseeto ve'en tseet el achila." We're talking about achila. Shneimar ve'yisa masod mepanav. So therefore, since it comes out that you could redeem Maaser Sheni shenitma even inside of Yerushalayim, so why do we say that it has to put it in Genizah? So says the Gemara, what are we dealing with? Belakuach. Lakuach means that you took the money of Maaser Sheni shenitma, and therefore that does not get pidyon, and therefore they just put it in Genizah. Take the money and put it in Genizah. So ask the Gemara, v'lifarke, right? Why don't you just redeem it? If you'd given a mudalef on the top, we're going to get to the 2 dots. So he said, v'lifarke, just redeem it. The Tanam was learned to the Mishnah. Lakuach b'kesef Maaser Sheni shenitma, yipadeh, just redeem it. So the Gemara Rabbi Yehuda, it's like Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar yikaver, that he says you have to actually put it in kvura. You have to bury it. If so, my idia. So why do we say irani dachat? Afilu dalmanami. So even normal then. Forget about irani dachat. Just stop Maaser Sheni. So he says, "Elulam really be'emet. We're talking about Maaser Sheni tahor." And we go on the nafal mechitzot. We're talking about that the mechitzot of Yerushalayim fell down, and now it's not inside of the mechitzot of Yerushalayim. And like Rava, the Amarava mechitza leechol midoraita, liklot midrabanan. When we're talking about mechitza, to eat it inside of the walls of Yerushalayim, that's midoraita. You have to eat it inside of the walls of Yerushalayim. Liklot. When we're talking about now mechitzot klutot, that's only going to be midrabanan. The gazu rabbanan. So now we're going to say that the rabbis are going to make a gzera ki itnu lemechitza when we're going to have the mechitza ki litnu mechitza when there's no mechitzot. The rabbis do not make a decree. Okay.